Hi, everybody. Um, Thanks for joining us for the Lightning Talks. Before we jump into that, I just want to say thanks to everybody for coming today to all the sessions. We had a lot of great stuff. As far as logistics go, if you feel like you missed something, don't worry because everything is still online. You can go back to sessions you've already watched and you can rewatch them. Or you can watch the ones that you haven't watched. You can still fill out the participation surveys after you do that if you do it through our website rather than going straight to YouTube, and then you can get a certificate of participation. If you are looking for a certificate of participation, I would suggest that you wait until you're done watching all the sessions and do it all at once. You don't have to do it each day. So you can just collect, and when you create the certificate, you basically, there's an option that says how many days back do you want us to look, and so it'll look for any participation surveys filled out in the last 30 days or whatever that are tied to your email address. So that's an easy way for you to be able to build a participation certificate that has all the hours that you've attended across multiple days, even if it takes you more than the 2 days of the live conference. No judgment there. So yeah, that should work out good. And if you have any questions or problems as far as getting your participation surveys filled out, getting a certificate filled out, just message us. You can message me, you can message Melissa, go to the Zen and Help channel in Slack, and we can help you out there. So we're going to have another great round of sessions tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. We'll start off with our keynote at 12 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll just continue to jam from there. But in the meantime, tonight is about our lightning talks. So let me make sure that I have this open. We've had a couple people sign up. Not a ton, so we may be really short. It may be just me if nobody else shows up, but we'll see what happens. So I will go ahead and start with the lightning talk from me. And then I'll give the other presenters just a little bit of time to be able to get here. Let me get my screen ready real quick. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about for just a couple minutes. This is what we call the open board logging file format. If you go to openboardformat.org, this is part of OpenAAC, which is an initiative that I've been working on for a while. It's not actually about Cough Drop. It's more about AAC in general. It's a nonprofit that's trying to sort of raise the bar, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute we'll see. But the one I want to specifically talk about is I want to make sure people are aware that there are active conversations in the industry right now around a logging format for AAC users and logging their usage. And I want to make sure that those who have feelings about that or want to make sure their opinions or concerns are known are aware that these conversations are going on. We've created a file format that we use that you can export from Cough Drop called the open board logging format as sort of a starting place to be able to get some conversations going. In Cough Drop specifically, you can turn on logging and it will log all of your communication sessions. So you can review them, you can generate reports, you can also export them. And the idea here is just to have a file format like a CSV or a spreadsheet or a PDF or whatever that is specifically for AAC users logs. And the way we've done that is trying to make it so that it's something that any other vendor can use. It's not Cough Drop specific. And we actually have interest now from some of the other big vendors. Things are starting to happen and the conversation's starting to go. A big part of this, if you go to this website, openformat.org, you go to the docs page and then go to open logging documentation. There's a big section on anonymization because we've tried to put a lot of energy into making sure that people who want to share their logs for research purposes can share the logs that they've created without exposing private information. So there's a lot of things that you can do and inside of this specification, inside of this file format to help protect user identity, because that's a big thing. And we want to make sure that we can respect that. Having data from lots of different users is not something that we've really had access to in the past. from an AAC perspective. If you look at a lot of studies and research, it's, we did some manual recording or video filming across a couple days or across one day for 10 to 15 users. And it's hard to build a lot of confidence in what generalized AAC use looks like when that's all you've got. So there's talk about trying to build a larger corpus of data sets of AAC users and their communication. And obviously, if we're going to do something like that, it needs to be anonymized, but it also needs to be standardized. So anyway, just FYI, there's work going on there right now. And if that's something that you're passionate about or that scares you or that you want to make sure people consider certain factors, then please join us in continuing the conversation. If you go to this website, there's a link here to OpenAAC, which is the more sort of general project, the nonprofit organization, and the conversations are happening there. If you join there and reach out to the community there, which is on Slack, so you should be familiar with how to do that now, then we can help get you synced up and participating in those conversations. So that's what I wanted to share. That's my lightning talk. Let's see. I don't see any other participants, so we may have a really short set of lightning talks. I don't see anybody else on here. Let me check one other thing real quick before I send you all away. We did have a couple of people sign up to do sessions, and they should have got an invite in their email, but maybe they didn't see it in time. So one of the people wanted to talk about a new AAC prototype they've been working on. I've seen people post about this they posted about it in a couple of the AAC Facebook groups as well, called Emotion Talker, which is a speech generating device where the idea is to be able to have varying tones of voice, being able to talk in a frustrated way or in a surprised way or in a shy way, have different emotions conveyed. So that's cool and that's interesting. And I was hoping they'd show up, but since they're not here, I'll just say, you should check that out. And if you go to some of the AAC communities, then you can be a part of. There's Facebook posts. If you go back just a couple of days, I think in the history, you'll be able to see those. And I'll share a little bit more. Just give people just a little bit more of a chance to show up in case there's some reason that they needed a minute. We're going to go to. Okay. I wear my cough drop hat a lot because, cough drop is where I spend a lot of time, probably 2/3 of my time, but the other third of my time is spent on OpenAAC, which is a nonprofit organization that's not about selling an AAC system or trying to make money or anything like that. This is about trying to have the standards that we need for AAC to be better. So if you go to openaac.org, you can see the website that we have. You can participate in some surveys that are just sort of ongoing, trying to collect information on AAC use and how that goes. And then we call this the OpenAAC Manifesto, which is some expectations that we believe people should be able to have. It's sort of a Bill of Rights of sorts for AAC, but it's more on the technology side than around the communicator side. But it talks about things like, we should have open licensed vocabulary sets that are available. We should have symbol libraries that are diverse and easily reusable and shareable, and you don't have to pay money in order to have access to. We should have a file format for logging and for being able to import and export files. We should have lessons and activities that make it possible for people to be able to learn AAC and know how to without having to, say, buy into a specific vendor. We should have voice output. Speaking of, emotional diversity, we should have voice outputs that are more flexible and more approachable and can better represent different communities of speakers. And I am not, when we have this manifesto and put it up, I'm not the kind of person who says, people have deliberately avoided these things because they're bad people or because they were just completely selfish. I know that there are selfish people who just care about making money, but in general, a lot of the reason why we don't have these things yet is just because nobody's had the bandwidth to do them. and nobody's been pushing for it. And so with OpenAAC, we're trying to put some energy behind it behind some of these initiatives to say these need to change, and also trying to get the community to advocate more for it. When the community around AAC, when you guys come and say this needs to happen, we won't accept a vendor who doesn't support this format, or we have new requirements that we need to be able to have these things as part of the solutions that we accept or that we use. There's a lot of value there, and so that's sort of the initiative with OpenAAC. We want to make sure that we are raising the bar for the industry. If you look at innovations that happen in AAC, vendors come up with little new features and they're like, hey, we do this new thing, and hey, we do this new thing, and isn't that cool? If you stick with a specific vendor, a lot of times you can find some interesting things that are unique to that vendor. And the OpenAAC initiative is more about saying, let's make sure that we can do something that benefits everybody, regardless of what system they're using. If we can have sort of a more established standard that's less proprietary, then we can have more success in supporting everyone. So that's what this OpenAAC initiative is. You go to openaac.org and you can check it out. There's a link to our Slack channel, and please get involved. The more people we have who care about a specific topic, the easier it is for us to invest energy there, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease and all that. So if you want to come be a squeaky wheel, we would love to have you, and you can help. At this point, you can help really drive what the strategy and motivation is for what happens at OpenAAC. And it looks like that's about it. Let me see. I think that's about, nobody else joined. So you just got to hear from me for 15 minutes. Thanks for putting up with me. And we will see you again tomorrow morning for the keynote. So that'll be great. We're really looking forward to that. And please, if you haven't looked at some of the sessions that happened today, there's been some really good stuff. Some of them, I think maybe, I don't know if the title didn't match or what, but there wasn't as high attendance on some of the sessions as I would have hoped for. So maybe go back and look at some that you missed, because there was some really good stuff on some of the lower attended sessions that I think would be worth people putting a little more time into. But we'll call it there for the night. Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks for coming to the conference for the day. Don't forget about your coloring page if you want to get entered in a drawing to win that. And also you can post a question or an answer in the idea share section for a chance to win, and listen for more of those secret code words that we put at the beginning. See if you can win that way as well. Should be fun. Excited for another